All right, good morning. This video is for the dude who asked me for some advice on his situation. He's mid-40s, got into a bad accident a few years ago and has been unable to work for the last few years. Is currently living with family and has used up all his savings. But he's about to get a $500,000 settlement cash, and soon should be able to get disability to the tune of $1,500 a month, and more than likely we'll be able to work part-time and earn $1,500 a month. So that's $500,000 in cash settlement, and pretty sure he's going to be able to get $3,000 per month in steady income. So he wants to know what he should do in order to plan for the future. So I thought I would make a video out of it because there are some good lessons to be, I think, to be taken from this. First of all, dude, sorry about your accident. And it's a crap way to, get this inheritance, right? It's essentially inheritance or lotto winnings. So let's plan it so that you don't end up like most lotto winners. Within 3 years, they're like completely broke, back to square one, right? Because they don't know how to handle their money. So let's put that in perspective first. That amount of money, especially in cash, you now have more money than the vast majority of Americans, okay? And again, these figures I throw out there are approximate. They're going to be off by a little bit, but they make the point, right? The important thing is I'm trying to make the point. My figures may be a few years old. They may be a few points off. Doesn't negate the point I'm trying to make, okay? 60% of people, roughly, have $0 saved, right? The next 10%, up to 70%, the next 10% may have a few $1,000s to their name. Right? That's 70% of people, 70% of Americans have $10,000 or less saved. Okay? So you can look at your $500,000 as being well above all that. And even if you include the people who have 401ks, which is also a minority of people. Okay? Not many people have access to a 401k account, right? Those people, out of those people, depending on which website you look at, which bank data you look at, the average 401k account probably only has it to the tune of $150,000 to $200,000. That's the average 401k account. You now have 2 to 3 times the amount of the average 401k account. So that's the good news, right? As for what to do with that money, well, you already have you will have a steady source of income. So we're not going to worry about the job situation. Mainly what you're going to do with this $500,000. As you said, you would like to buy, a cheap place to live in. I totally agree. You got to buy a cheap place to live in. Okay. Or if rent is that cheap where you are, you can even rent and save the difference and invest all of it. Okay. But if you need to put down, $50,000, for a down payment, or $100,000. I have no idea, about the price of real estate in your area. If you can buy a place outright for $100,000, you know what? By all means, spend $100,000, secure your living situation, and then invest the rest. Okay? So, yeah, I agree. You should spend some money and buy a place. Do I agree with you in buying a side-by-side, living in one side and renting out the other? I don't know. You have to run those numbers. Everybody's situation is different. Every locality is different. You have to run those numbers to make sure that you are cash flowing from the other side. Okay? If you're putting in money for this whole deal, then you're not making money, right? And you'll be better off just living by yourself, investing the money that would have been put into the rental, okay, into the investment property that's not making you money. Okay? So I would only invest if it makes me money every month, okay? I don't care about 30 years later. 30 years is 30 years later. A lot of things can happen between now and 30 years. Okay, as for the rest of the money, right? Let's say you have 400,000 left. What do we do with that? Well, if currently you can live on whatever budget you live on, right? If you could hopefully live within and below the $3,000 that you get a month, I would hang on to that living situation for as long as I can. At least 5 years, because it's going to take at least 5 years potentially to see any benefit to long-term investments in the market, right? Nobody knows where this market's going. And it's been going very well for the last 15 years. Too well. You know, for the last 10 years, I thought it was going to crash at any time because we've been going well above the average, the 100-year average of 8 to 10%, right? But nobody can predict this market. Nobody. Especially not 80-year-old politicians on either side of the aisle, okay? Don't listen to that bullshit, okay? Everything that, look, I don't want to get into politics. However, the market depends a lot on emotions. The day-to-day fluctuations, short-term fluctuations, are a lot of emotions or what people think they should be paying for stocks. Emotions. And you can't predict the emotions of 330 million people, right? Impossible. What about politics? That's complete emotions. What the propaganda that one side produces for the other and vice versa. I'm talking about both sides here, right? Both sides, when they produce their, information and propaganda against the other side, it's completely based on emotions and fear, okay? Emotions and fear. They both produce bullshit about the other side. So don't tie your finance, your personal finance, to emotions, and especially to political emotions, all right? How many people do we know that left the market because, oh my God, Obama got elected, he's gonna crash the market? I made probably 4 times my money in those 8 years, okay? In his first 4 years, my investment portfolio, I made 8 times my down payment in 4 years, okay? And then came Trump, the other side of my friends. Oh my God, Trump's gonna crash the economy. They all left. And most of us made at least 2 times, right? Our 401ks at least double in his 4 years, right? And then Biden. I was working for an old gentleman, 83 years old, right? He thought when the Democrats took over the House, he thought the entire world was gonna end. Seriously, the entire world was gonna end because he's a prepper, right? Compounds all over the states. Bunkers all over the states. He had multiple bunkers. Anyway, he thought the entire world was gonna end. Did it end? I don't know about you, but my 401k doubled yet again in the last 4 years. So, all right? You cannot time the market. Nobody can. Nobody can. Don't listen to these bullshit 83-year-old politicians and 80-year-old politicians, okay? They're trying to scare you, okay? They're trying to scare you that the other side is gonna end the world. It's bullshit, okay? So don't tie your personal finance, right, to politics and to emotions, right? The guys that got out, they got out at whatever presidency you want to pick. They got out before the next president came in because it was going to tank. Did it tank? No, it kept going up and up and up and up. And then they're like, oh, now it's too expensive to jump back in, right? So I should wait another 2 years. They could have doubled, tripled, quadrupled their money in those 4 years. Well, they didn't. They sat on the sidelines waiting for this president to crash the economy, to crash the market, and that never happened. And they missed out on doubling, tripling, quadrupling their money because politics and emotions. So you cannot time the market. So what do we do with this 400,000 or 500,000 that you have left? How do we time this market? You can't, right? So on the one side, because you can't time the market, I would put in everything into the market, right? Maybe a quarter of it, let's say 100,000, put into something more stable. I don't invest in any bonds. I don't need to at this point, right? But maybe you could look at bonds, whatever percent they pay, that they've been growing at. I don't know. They're paying 5%. CDs are also doing 5%. So maybe you put 100,000 into something stable like that. I have VYM, which is a Vanguard high yield index. That pays a little over 3%. So that you're getting a little bit of growth and a steady 3% dividends. So that amount that you're putting in for these steady dividends and steady growth, that's your emergency money, okay? You're gonna get several $1,000s per year out of this. That is your emergency money. You're using your $3,000 per month income to live on, okay? Or less. I would prefer you live on less than that. I mean, you've been living on, I'm sure, less than that for the last few years, living with your family, right? Continue that lifestyle if you can. Continue that lifestyle for the next 5 years if you can, okay? If you can't, try to live below the $3,000 a month, okay? But that $100,000 should be producing a few $1,000s of emergency money. Don't touch it unless it's an emergency. The rest of the 80%, 75%, right? Whether you have $300,000-$400,000 left, I will go aggressive into the S&P 500. That's for long term. That's for long term. And this is why you got to live within your means for the next at least 5 years. Because we have no idea where this market's going at this point, right? Next 5 years may well be completely flat, right? It could well drop by half tomorrow, and then it will take 5 years to recoup what you have. Okay, so don't depend on the next 5 years. Leave it in there, leave that 400,000, leave it in there 10 years, and hopefully you'll get to $1 million, right? And as your portfolio grows, you can then start to take 1%, 2% out of the portfolio to supplement your $3,000 a month, and then you can start slowly to increase your cost, your standard of living, right? You can have fun, right? You can use some of that money for fun and to increase your lifestyle. That's totally fine, right? Up to, and once you get to a nice number, let's say $1 million, right? Now you can really look at it and start using the 4% rule, which means that you take 4% of your portfolio, because theoretically the portfolio is growing at 8 to 10%, using 4, and the portfolio is still growing at 4 to 6%. So your lump sum there, your principal, is still growing while you're using 4% of $1 million, $40,000 to live on. So you're increasing your lifestyle, you're bettering, you're spending some more money, you're using some of that money to enjoy, but your portfolio still continues to grow. The other option about putting in this money is to dollar cost average, although dollar cost average means when you have a small amount of money, right, after your paycheck, you just throw it in. Whether it's up, down, sideways, the market, doesn't matter. However, because you have this huge lump of money, dollar cost averaging over a longer period of time doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're going to take so long to put in this amount of money that most of the time will be stagnant and not growing, potentially not growing. So that doesn't make a lot of sense either. However, when we came into a decent amount of money after selling our real estate rental properties, we did try to throw in, let's say 30, 40,000 at a time, 30,000 one month, 30,000 the next month, whether it's, up, down, sideways, sort of short-term dollar cost averaging. It made us feel a little bit better than putting in, say, 400,000 at a time, and God forbid the next month it drops by half. It would have freaking hurt like crazy, right? It would have hurt like crazy. So it made us feel better that way. However, there is something to be said about just throwing any money in when you have the money, because you cannot time the market. Once again, you cannot time the market. Nobody can time the market. Nobody knows where the market is going. And again, don't listen to these 80-something-year-old politicians trying to scare you into that the other side is trying to destroy this country. It's all fear and nonsense. Just like my last video, okay? I made that for a point, right? To make a point, right? Something that's innocuous and maybe even trying to help somebody, right? The media and the government can easily turn my workout video into, oh my God, Chinese man found naked upside down in a children's playground, right? That's literally what they do. That's literally what each side does, okay? Our government and what the media does, okay? So use your head. Don't fall for these things, okay? All right, where were we? So can't time the market, throw it in. I think it was J.L. Collins in Simple Path to Wealth that said, you know what? studies show that even if you throw in a huge lump of money, you know, it could go down tomorrow, right? But over the long run, it still beats trying to time this market and throwing in a little bit at a time, when it's up, when it's down, when it's sideways. So according to him, I think, don't quote me, it's been a few years, I think according to that book, he was saying that it still beats trying to buy piecemeal. Whenever you have the money, throw it into the market. Over the long term, you will come out ahead. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. I hope that helps, Adam. Good luck to you, and I hope some other people can take some lessons from this and not invest based on emotions, and especially politics. All right, till the next one. Goodbye.